Welcome to Trini Ting, where we sit down with the visionaries and voices who shaped the spirit of Trinidad and Tobago. In part 4 of his 5-part Trini Ting interview, Jackie Hinkson speaks some more about the importance of drawing. He also reflects on his time as an art teacher at his alma mater, Queen's Royal College, and offers his perspectives on the current state of the art in Trinidad and Tobago. If you could design a Jackie Hinkson art school, what would be the most important lesson on that first day?
Well, a lesson on the first day or lesson in the program?
In the program, yeah.
Yeah, no, my focus would be on drawing, without a doubt. And by drawing, I don't necessarily mean the narrow definition of drawing, a pen or a pencil, line, linear, and so on. I mean looking at things and being able to capture the essential structure or gesture of them.
Right.
You're drawing a tree, you capture some essential quality about it using whatever, brush, color, pen, pencil, charcoal, whatever. You're drawing something heavy, you capture some quality about its weight, its sense of volume, and so on. And that is where my initial focus, my fundamental focus would be on that ability to draw in the broad sense of the word.
So you're saying that's the foundational piece of any art
To
school,
me,
yeah?
To me, but my experience, of course. And I notice that even if you look at the now outstanding artists of the 20th, 21st century who are abstract artists, expressionistic artists, non-objective artists, and you look at their early works, you see where that foundation is.
Drawing.
And how their work evolved into that style.
Yeah. But it's interesting. I asked you this about setting up a Jackie Hinkson art school, but a couple of years ago, you did have a Jackie Hinkson art school when you were teaching at URC.
No, that was not art school.
But you had the opportunity to influence young minds around art.
Yeah. But I should point out, though, that it was standard, certainly in those days. This is the 1970s, and certainly at that level and in that kind of institution, it was not unusual for students to consider that something like a free period where you could talk and thing. I made sure that there was some structure and they did things, but I was also very conscious of the fact that most of them boys say, oh boy, you get a chance, you have a little liberty here to talk and chat and sing, and so on. But having said that, there were always the one or two who were interested.
Right. So just following on that, are there any now practicing artists that were students of yours during, your time at QRC? And if so, do you see any of you or your influence in the work that they do?
I think there must be quite a few who are in some art-related field, whether it's graphics or pure fine art and so on. I'm not aware of some of them. I discover from time to time that that fellow's been doing art, and I didn't know that, right, and so on. But for example, Che Lovelace is a fellow who I remember teaching back in the 70s sometime. A fellow called Patrick Roberts, who now has bad glaucoma, was in exhibiting his work. Good, yeah, strong work. And a couple other names that I can't even remember. But I should point out that given my philosophy about it, my emphasis would have been on dealing with certain basics like the drawing and so on. Right. I would not have been attempting to guide their way of seeing things.
Okay.
You know, so it's not likely that you would look at their work and say, "Oh yeah, it looks like Hinkson." You're not going to see that.
But certainly, would you have then focused on that discipline you speak about, which is the discipline of focusing on light, on tonality, on juxtaposition of different things.
Yeah.
And I guess in that way, probably you would see that discipline coming through in some of their work, if that were to be the case.
Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Yeah. So so you spent some time, as you as you call it, teaching the free period. What do you hope your students would remember most? Not about your lessons, but about you.
That's hard to answer. Curiously, because I was teaching art, which was not considered an important subject, generally like science or maths or this or that or the other. I have been surprised from time to time in recent years, for some number of years now, to hear fellas say how they were influenced by me as a teacher. Not necessarily as an art teacher,
Right.
but just as a teacher. And I'm trying to think back of why they would be saying that. And the only thing I could think of is that in my discussions with them, I would go beyond just, how to mix green, or how we talk about things beyond that,
Okay.
And that maybe left a deeper impression. Also, I devoted a lot of time to the intramural cricket and football competitions.
Right.
I
So
structured
outside of the
and-
classroom.
Right, extramural activities. And a lot of them remember me for that role. And I, of course, in the matches like teachers versus students or prefects or whatever, I played. So
Both cricket and football?
yeah.
Nice one.
So they remember me for that too. So perhaps they have taken away a sense of a person with a broad vision of things, of life, and so on, and not a narrow.
Right. Which hopefully would have influenced them to be similarly broad in their perspectives. Now, I know you keep your eye on the local art scene. Which of our young artists have you seen whose work resonates with you?
Yeah, I've lost track. Yes.
Yeah.
There's so many now, and so many showing work briefly here, there for a year and never again. That I've lost track. Also, some that I consider the younger artists 20 years ago are no longer younger artists. They're all in the 50s and 60s now, and so on. So it'd be difficult for me to come up with a precise definition of younger.
Right. Well, I mean, once they're younger, then they're younger.
The younger.
No, but maybe another way I can ask that question is, are you satisfied that the art is in good hands?
The art in the country is in good hands in the sense that there are a lot of people doing it. Where the tragedy in all of this is the quality of media coverage, analysis, critiquing, and so on is poor.
Right.
Poor.
You want to say a little bit more about that?
But I go back to Walcott. When Walcott wrote about exhibitions, 1960, or all around there, he wrote, one, with a deep knowledge about the history of art and so on, and two, he wrote about a lot of the technical aspects of it, like the quality of drawing, painting, quality of light, tonal composition, all of that. He wrote about all those things. You don't ever see that again. ever, ever, ever. What you see now is whose work is important because it is modern, or whose work is important because it's thinking outside the box. No, when I read terms like expressions like thinking outside the box, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what it means. What box? You know, what is it? What is a box in the history of art? So, you know, and what happens because there are no people of quality who are qualified to write about art. It has been left to individual artists to tell the media what they're doing.
Right. But how do we fix that though?
You fix it by the media houses making sure that they find and pay qualified people to do that writing. But there seems to be no qualified people anymore. Seems to be none. So you will get, I mean, if I'm having an exhibition and I invite the press, I said, look, I'm having this exhibition, it will take place there. They will tell me, send in a paragraph or two. No, I can't assess my work. I can tell you what I think I'm trying to do, and I keep the technical things. But most artists now will try to tell you how good their work is and how significant or how relevant it is and all that kind of thing. So here, all of a sudden, you have artists critiquing their own work.
Yeah.
That is what it has boiled down to in the end.
Wow.
And it is a tragedy.
It is.